I hope that my team knows that I genuinely care about them, and that can't be forced. That is that's something that I've learned that you have to take care of them. We talk about taking care of patients as humans, but we really have to also acknowledge that our team, each person comes in with something, and they're not always gonna have a good day, and they're gonna have stuff that they're coming in the door with, and it's about loving them through that, giving them grace for those bad days. And I think what's been a challenge for me personally is I'm also not really allowed to have a bad day. If I have the worst day of my life, they can't know it. I'm learning how to do this. I am someone that wears all my emotions on my sleeve. I'm having an amazing day or I'm having an awful day. And I'm really so I would encourage people find ways to keep it in check because I recognize that I, as the owner, set the tone for the whole day. And if I'm coming in, everything's light, everything's easy, everything's doable, man, things are humming with the team, right? Like, even if they get a complaint, even if they have a bad patient experience for whatever reason, like, they just have like the resiliency to just work through it versus if I'm coming in and I'm not saying anything, but it's all about my vibe. It's all about what I'm putting out, right? Like, and I'm just not right. They feel it. So, man, it starts with me. It starts with him. And that's something that only you can figure out ways, whether that's, I don't know. There are so many different ways that I think we won't go down that road, but like, you got to find your way to come in ready for anything. And I like that everything is easy, everything is light kind of mindset.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Forward to Extraordinary, a part of the Strictly From Nowhere podcast experiment. I'm your host, Justin Abrams, a serial entrepreneur in pursuit of wisdom with the goal of sharing it with all of you. And it's no different for today. Something I don't talk about often enough on this show is the paths in life. We all often come to these points in our life, especially during our formidable years, where if I go right, one thing plays out. If I go left, it's a totally different life path. And so one of those things for me was either the pursuit of a medical degree and try to become a doctor or not. And I chose not. One of my super fascinations as a young kid, I think it was actually one of the first books that I ever read, was Taber's Medical Journal. Not kidding. I got it as a gift from my babysitters. Shout out to Stacy. I know you're going to watch this. And she gave me this book, and I'm not kidding. I pretended to read it from cover to cover. I figured out what like all sorts of funky stuff was, and it was the origin of my interest in biology, in medicine, in biomechanics, and it was the root of my pursuit of my paramedical journey. I've been in search and rescue. I've been an EMT. I've been a personal trainer. I've been a biomechanics teacher, all sorts of different things in the vertical of kinesiology and nutrition science and all sorts of stuff that filled my cup without me pursuing a degree in medicine. And so that may be some people's paths. My ultimate goal, no matter what though, was always going to be entrepreneurship. So even if I did become a doctor, I would have owned my own practice. And so it's one of those fascinations for me. It was always the goal to get to a place of entrepreneurship. And if you're lucky enough that your passions become your business, well, it looks pretty blue sky from there. And so I'm fascinated with those that have taken their profession, have put the layer of passion into it, and have now built a business. And so today, not only am I joined by two friends, but also a customer of Cause of a Kind of my agency, Danielle and George Christakis. Welcome to this episode of Strictly From Nowhere. I cannot wait to unpack your zero to market story.
Thank you, Justin.
Thanks, man.
Awesome.
It's a pleasure. It's absolutely a pleasure. As I always begin these episodes, I love to humanize this stuff. You're just people. We could easily have a glass of wine on the boardwalk together in South sunny Florida. And so regular people, regardless of the doctor credential. Danielle, why don't we start with you? Tell me all about you, what makes you unique, and a little bit of your human experience to start us off.
Oh, thanks, Justin. Beautiful intro. So good to know that about you. I had
Thanks.
no idea.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah, yeah. One of my deep dark interests, I guess.
very cool. So I'm born and raised West Virginia. I came to college down in South Florida where I really fell in love with it down here. Pursued medicine back home in West Virginia, and I went to an osteopathic school. And so from day one, it was always about getting to the heart of the matter and treating patients as a whole individual. And so when I chose medicine, I did so because actually a teacher fostered this like genuine interest of the human body and how it all works together for our good, truly. And so I chose medicine. That was kind of my path from high school forward. I know not everyone chooses it that quickly, but that was you know, once I decided that was the path for me. I really couldn't see myself doing anything else. And yet I also knew getting into med school and residency that I would want to practice medicine on my own terms. I don't love being told what to do. And
Mm.
so I didn't know what that would look like necessarily, but then as kind of things crystallized at the end of residency, I was like, I really don't love how the current model tells me I gotta practice, you know, seeing 20 patients a day, rushing through their visit and not really feeling like we were getting to the heart of the matter with patients. And so that's when I was like, I'm either gonna practice on my own terms or I'm gonna find something else. And so really from day one, I was able to do that, which is such a blessing. And I know that that's not everyone's experience. So I feel very grateful.
I often think about had I found my interest in medicine later. I'm telling you, I was interested in medicine since I was my son's age, maybe 5. I got the initial biology kit as a kid, like just the toy to play around with. The first things that I was reading were like way above my head, and like I probably couldn't process and like digest it all, but it was where my interest was. I was like super interested as a kid in like Rescue 911, the television show. It was the days of like ER and Dr. Green. Like it just felt powerful to me to be a doctor and like to take care of people and to be like that source of hope in a moment of trauma. I probably would have been a trauma doctor. That would have been my interest and pursuit, which is a totally different breed of doctor than trying to do like family care. Like totally separate type. Same relative pursuit, but if I had, for me personally, found it a little bit later like you did, and maybe it was impressed upon me differently as it was with you, like an educator that just selected me and implored it, I might have had a different path. And so the reason why I bring that up, and I love how you started right there, is somebody's watching this and somebody's going to be impacted by one of your stories. Somebody's going to say, man, I like needed the right kick in the butt to be fearless in the pursuit of becoming a doctor. And so, George, I'm going to start with the same question with you too, because I was in your office not too long ago and I like was rambling a little bit and got like a little bit choked up when I found out that you pursued becoming a doctor a little bit later in life. And it's one of those things for me, which is like if I got freedom, true freedom, freedom from the money, freedom from the hustle, my kids are a little bit older, my family is situated, would I go back to medical school as an older person? And so you, for me, was like an emotional empowerment, which is like, yo, pursue what you're doing for now, pursue the freedom. But if it's your calling, your route will take you back there. And so I want to get back to you, George. Tell me a little bit about you, your personal experience, and what makes you unique about your story.
Sure. Yeah, I remember that conversation. I had no idea medicine wasn't even on my radar till I was in my 30s. So I was in graduate school for creative writing. I was teaching English at FAU, Florida
Wow.
Atlantic University,
Hmm.
and a few weeks away from graduating with my master's degree in creative writing, voila, it came to me. So it was as shocking to me as it was to anybody else. So,
Wow. I mean, there's a story there. So give me the details, man. What do you mean, voila? It just comes to me. That's a pretty big came to me.
so I was walking out the door to go to one of my afternoon classes, 2 weeks away from graduating, compiling a collection of short stories to try to publish and get a tenured professor spot, and loved it, but I just was like, realized what I wanted to do. I mean, I come from a family of physicians. So my father's a physician, both of his brothers, and my grandfather. So, I grew up around it. Dad had a small private practice, but it's not something that I kind of thought my way through. It just all of a sudden became it's clear to me in some kind of really odd, sudden way what I wanted to do. And then I had to sort of backtrack it and see if that made sense, and I was so stoked. The next morning I woke up like, man, yesterday I thought I was going to go to medical school. That was crazy. About a minute later, I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do. So I just hit it. I just hit it hard and started taking, the courses I needed. And I was 31. So I started med school at 35. Took me another 4 years to get all the prereqs. Um, I'm glad I did it. I mean, I remember telling myself, you're going to be 42 by the time you're done, I think was the math on it. Yeah, 4 years of med school and 3 years of residency. But you know what? You're going to be 42 anyways. You'll be doing what you want to do. And then I graduated residency. I was 42 years old, and I thought back and I gave my 35-year-old self a high five. And I was
Hell
like,
yeah.
yeah, man. You
Hell
did.
yeah.
You're doing what you want to do. So it was a roundabout way to get there, but happy I did it.
Nothing really is a straight line. Everything's always like a series of decisions, and like, man, you had the freedom and the wisdom at that point in your life to like take what seemed like some type of a pipe dream and be like, nah, that's the reality. And I wonder, what's your relationship with writing? Now that was the original pursuit. Like, do you fill your cup privately? Like, do you still do that?
Zero.
Zero. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done it. I used to love to read. That's how I ended up going that route in the first place. And then, right, I just, when I started on this path, I haven't had a chance to get back to it yet. I don't know if it's something I would still pick up and do. I would like to think so, but it's a headspace. You got to be in the right headspace for it. You can't just do it because you think you should. And that was in a different headspace back then in my life. And so we'll see if it comes back around. I hope it does.
Well, I want to call a little bullshit on you because I've read your articles and you certainly write thought leadership.
Ah,
So
thanks, man.
somewhere out there, maybe not creative writing.
Did it.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I was gonna call
Sure.
him out if you did it. Good job, Justin.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, Danielle, I have to bring it back to you because guys, transparently, you're the first married couple I've ever hosted on the show.
Oh, very
So
cool.
not only are you married, but you're also business partners. And so, Danielle, tell me a little bit about the inception story of your business. What do you guys do? What do you specialize in? And we'll go on a rabbit hole from there.
Cool. So we help people like yourself, Justin, who lead very busy lives, have a lot on their plate. Lives are really demanding, but whose health really deserves more than quick fixes, rushed appointments, fragmented care. And so the practice mission is really to provide patients the time that they need, that they deserve to get to the root cause of their issues. So we get them real, tangible solutions that are going to get them functioning at their best and feeling like themselves again. So really everything is kind of stems from that foundational patients need more time, deserve more time. And so we're there to listen. We're there to treat them as an N of one versus treating them like the masses. And the concierge model, having a smaller practice is what fosters that, is what allows for that. We carry typical concierge practice physicians carry 200 patients versus you're looking at a conventional practice carries 2,500 plus patients. And so there's only so many hours in a day. And so that concierge model is what allows us to spend the time that we feel is so needed for our patients.
So what's your business? Because you didn't plug it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's your show.
We are, we have an integrative concierge primary care medical practice. That's a mouthful.
And it is called
Wellness First.
Wellness First. And where are you located?
We're in Juno Beach, Florida.
In Juno Beach, Florida. So, I've been to your practice. To me, it was like it's like the Apple store of doctors' offices.
Oh,
It's like modern, it's pristine, it's like greens and whites, and just like makes you feel like you're in a place of substantial care. And what I found really interesting, and what I find interesting in my pursuit of privatized integrative medicine, is the modern system. Up here in New York, you have a lot of large hospital systems that have just acquired the mom and pop family practice. And so now you're in like the Optum network, the Northwell network, NYU Langone network, Mount Sinai, like these big hospital networks that just wanted to arbitrage. And so what I find very interesting is those, especially the osteopaths of the world, that have remained true to client side treatment, who are less focused on this gigantic cash opportunity and are more focused on the true healthcare, like the true reason why doctors became doctors in the first place. And so I, as an individual, you said, like me, like I actually am your target ideal patient persona. And so is my wife. And what I find really interesting about that is my conversation with a medical practitioner could be a little bit different from the average person. It's just one of my corpuses of knowledge and my areas of interest, and I'm inquisitive. And so I'm a different type of patient, I like to think. But I don't really have like exploratory ailments. I don't really have a need for like a doctor that's going to take like this crazy position in my health journey. My wife does. And so it's not necessarily about me as the individual. This could be about the holistic family experience. This could be about like me making a recommendation to a family member. Like it's not necessarily going to be the path for everybody the way that you guys run your business. But my wife, as an example, we do have an integrative healthcare specialist here. He is an osteopath and he's the quarterback of her health program. And so I like to think about it a little bit differently. I'm helping you guys like kind of shape and plug your business just from my intimacy with it. Like if you feel like your primary care physician is only cares about you in that 45-minute window appointment and like just doesn't really put their mind on you, that intuition is likely correct. That's how it goes. That's what that system was designed to do. Too many patients, not enough time in the day, not enough middle management to help with the equation, and the doctor just has too much on their plate. And so for us, we wanted something different. I wanted somebody that was going to think about us on the weekends, somebody that we could text, somebody that we could like just have a straight line relationship with, that could be the quarterback for the entire health experience. And so that for us has been a total differentiator. You can't put a price tag on care like that. Now, help me, because I struggle to explain to people just on the street when I end up in this weird conversation, what's the difference between a DO and an MD? And then, of course, there's layers in there, physician's assistant, nurse practitioner, like other things that can be prescriptive in primary care. But from your words and without Googling it, like, how do you differentiate DO versus MD?
For me, I think it's a mindset about how you engage with the patient from the jump, really. That we're not just trying to fix a disease or treat an illness or ailment, but we're really trying to address the entire individual. We are more than physical beings. We are spiritual, emotional beings that have a lot going on outside of just what we're experiencing physically. And so from day one, we're taught that the body works together to heal itself, that the body has capability of healing itself. And so, and every patient encounter, we should be thinking about what's going on at home. What are their stressors? You know, what did they adopt from their family? So we're trying to create we're seeing them as a whole individual versus just a disease that we have to like snuff out or try to improve upon or band-aid with a medication.
And isn't that typically the scenario, right? Like you hear this all the time, a supplement or a medication is not a cure. It's literally to help you manage either that acute pain or that disease or the illness or whatever that might be. It's really not a cure for anything. And so I like what you're saying, am more interested in root cause. I'm more interested in lifestyle adjustment. I'm more interested in, if it's not chronic disease, then it must be something controllable with things like diet, exercise, sleep, like all the rest of the formula that create a holistic person. So I'm right there, and I think that that's interesting. Let's get into business, because the path of entrepreneurship as a doctor is what I kind of feel very similar to having a true craft that you turn into a business. For example, if you're an HVAC specialist, nice and hot in Florida, mine just shit the bed a couple days ago, got to replace it. So HVAC, if you're a specialist in that, you went to school, you're credentialed and certified, you're licensed and insured, you have options. I could work for private business, I could work for a union, I could also open my own shop and become an entrepreneur if that's your jam. So you guys, as specialists of your domain, could have worked at the hospital, could have worked at somebody else's practice. You opened up your own practice. George, tell me a little bit about, and I know that you're not the founder of the practice. Danielle, I'll have separate questions for you as like the inception of the business. But George, what does it take today to remain relevant as an entrepreneur? You'll always be a doctor. If the business fails, you'll always be a doctor. You can go get a job, do whatever you want to do anywhere else. What do you think is like the secret sauce of entrepreneurship for all of you?
That's a good question. I think that's something we're figuring out. It's kind of a dynamic, ongoing, fluid process here. But I think the main thing is, and this can apply, I'm sure, to any entrepreneurship, is just offering the highest quality product, making it worth it. Mm, How do we make, as much money as we can here? But what we do, there's a large responsibility for it. You want to care for your patients. And so if we can, let's tighten up the ship here. Let's figure out how to best do this, how to do it most efficiently, how to really go above and beyond for the patients so that they're getting value out of it, that they have tangible benefit in terms of their health, and let this sort of the business part settle on its own. I mean, that's like, marketing aside, how do we reach more patients? And, there's like all those business specific things to learn, as we go. We're still learning all that. But I think the main thing is to tighten up what we're doing at its core. And in the end, that'll speak for itself. I mean, if you're offering a high quality product that people need, that they want, then you're going to be okay.
And so, George, like, where do you see validation for that thesis? Like, if I offer a high quality product, what is the thing that you are measuring that tells you that that's the right thesis?
Sure. Well, there's all kinds of things in the day-to-day workings of the practice, like, are our patients happy?
Right. Yeah.
Are things falling through the cracks, or are we getting complaints, or are we improving? Are we keeping the things tight? And the other thing will obviously be just, bringing in patients. And so what validates that is, I think, we've sort of been her take from the get-go, which is it's 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 a small practice. It's in Juno Beach, which is over a bridge. It's on an island, basically. It's not a place people drive by and can find easily. People could drive by there for a decade and have no idea it's there. So it's word of mouth. And so if we're doing a good job and patients are getting value and their health's improving, then they're going to tell people about it. The business is going to organically grow. And so, there's just basic numbers of members.
I bring it up because it may seem trivial for the conversation. How do we measure the validation that the thesis that we're in business for is actually working? But every business struggles with this type of thing. Every entrepreneur is trying to figure out, how do I know that I should continue to remain in business? How do I know I'm not, 6 months or a year away from closing my doors? So, like, what are those different signals that we as businesses, regardless of your domain, like your business operates the same as my agency does, as the same as the HVAC guy does. Anybody in this hand-to-hand, in-person, service-based business is going to use these key performance indicators that the system is tight, that the system is working well. And it also gives you the feedback that you need to improve the program. So for anybody listening, the brilliant basics of business are my customers happy? Are they making referrals? Are we listening to them when they're unhappy and making changes that they can see, etc.? Right? Like, it's all about the service that we provide to the people, and they're ultimately the boss. We thought, like, being entrepreneurs, we wouldn't have anybody to answer to. Like, Danielle, I find it funny you didn't want to answer it. Well, you answered it now like 500 or 600 people instead of one. Right. So Danielle, let me pivot back to you because now I want to get into the inception story, and that'll carry us for the rest of the show for today. Um, same question for you, right? You could have been a doctor anywhere. Could have went to the military or something. Like you could have been a doctor anywhere. So tell me about the earliest days of starting Wellness First. Where did the opportunity come from, and like what was it like to open the doors of the practice?
Okay, well, I am standing on the shoulders of the founder, Dr. Holly Hadley. So she was actually considering selling the practice to a larger conglomerate, and but
Mm,
she really didn't want to lose the genesis of her practice. And so I joined her in 2017 right out of residency. And it was a one MA, one practice med, one doctor operation. And she carried about 300 patients at the time, but she shifted away from conventional into a concierge model, really more for women, because at that time, when she didn't feel like women were getting great care. So when I joined, I wanted to see men as well. So that kind of opened the opportunities for the practice. I
what I like about that, and when you take over a business, we're in a big transitionary period in history for businesses. You have a big boomer generation that's going to transition both wealth and business. It's a large acquisition and merger climate. This could be somebody's formula. So, how did you take possession of this business? Because, from my perspective, even though you're not the founder, you have a totally different business than what you inherited or what you acquired or whatever your story is. So tell me, what was the story? Did you acquire it? Was it an earnout scenario? Like what was the transition of power?
so I became so they hired me with the goal of me being her exit strategy. And so from day one, I took on the hat of, okay, I'm not an owner yet, but I need to learn this business because in med school, you're taught nothing about business, right?
Totally.
And
Right.
so everything is trial by fire. And so as I'm still learning medicine from the very beginning, I also had the opportunity to learn what does running a business look like. And so for 3 years, I got to learn through kind of osmosis. I wasn't an owner, but I sat in on financial meetings. I knew the numbers. I was involved in decision making, which was really cool that they allowed for that. And so in 2020, I became part owner, and there was this just gradual buyout strategy that, every year I kind of earned my keep, so to speak. And so it was really kind of like a family deal. Holly and Bruce, who are husband and wife, have been really, really gracious and good to me and just took me under their wing and taught me. Bruce is also a big part of this story where he's sat down with me and kind of mentored me as it pertains to business. And I think that's really important that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, get around people that are smarter than yourself, um, and ask a lot of questions, stay curious, stay humble. Like so many times I have I have made more bad decisions than I am ever going to make good ones. But I think it's in those moments of really falling down and choosing to get back up that you learn the most about yourself and about running a business. And so it's been a humbling experience to say the least.
I love the story because think about how many people are unsure as to whether they should go to work first, are unsure as to whether they should open the business now. Should I just be an entrepreneur, either straight out of college or straight out of high school or whatever? There's such value to going and learning the craft under somebody else's teachings, on somebody else's dime. Like the mentorship play. And the reason why I bring this up, and I like, you're uncoached. Like, I love that you just went there and that's part of your story because, like, what freaking wisdom. And how many people are going to look at transitioning a business over the next 10 or 20 years? And so if you're an accountant, you went to school, you went to college to become a CPA, that was your jam, and now you're looking for a job. Well, some wisdom coming from Danielle might be go and work with a business owner CPA with a private practice. Use the next 5 to 10 years for their transitionary period and make it part of the plan to where you're going to take over the business, maybe give them an owner earnout, maybe give them some type of lifetime equity compensation deal or whatever. But man, to save yourself from the trials and tribulations of entrepreneurship is wisdom in itself. And so my next big question is going to be for each of you is one bad day. one bad day. I have lots of one bad days. And so in entrepreneurship specifically, one bad day looks like running out of money the day before payroll. Done that. One bad day looks like taking on too much debt, and then a deal comes out of nowhere and you're like, shit, I shouldn't have took on that debt that now I have to carry for 10 years. Not enough income to pay off the debt, but enough to say like, shit, I shouldn't have taken that on. One bad day looks like force majeure accidents in the brick and mortar of our business. A lightning strike, a power outage, a flood. So one bad day. Hopefully you'll each have a different day. George, why don't we start with you?
What's like what worst
One
case?
bad day of entrepreneurship that you guys have experienced and overcome.
Oh, oh man. I don't know if I can point to one bad day. Well, there was. Let's okay. Oh, geez, I don't even know if I should go here. It's like public and live. Not live. Staff turnover, so the staff now is 100% different than it was when I showed up, and I've only been there for 2.5 years, right? Yeah, 2.5 years. And so that was a difficult time. Not so much for me because I wasn't even in the picture. We weren't even well, we maybe just started dating somewhere midway through that, but I had to watch what she went through. And I was in my comfy little office in the corner, not having to deal with it like she was. But this was a time where Holly left, or the other owner. They were about 50-50. So Holly was retiring. She was taking on a new physician, myself and one other new physician, and all the staff turned over. And she was playing office manager at the same time. So she did office manager role for, I don't know, 6+ months. I'm bridging between the previous office manager and the current. So she's seeing a full panel of patients. She's owning a business for the first time, and she's the office manager. Um, you know, that wasn't one bad day. That was probably a tough season. I can't think of just one really brutal day.
And you're not supposed to. It's a relative trick question because even if it was acute, one actual bad day, well, there's a compounding effect to that. And like you're probably going to see that one thing again. Typically, we have a season of difficulty. And so I love that you went for staff turnover because I've experienced that for sure. So many businesses out there experience that. You're experiencing it with the advent of new technology. Like, is AI going to impact your business? Are you going to have voluntary staff turnover to where you have to cut expenses to improve margin? Like, no matter how you shape that equation, the emotional side of people management is a dark side of employment, of entrepreneurship. And so I've experienced that for sure. You almost have to like come up with a different facade, a different persona, because the boss hat persona is different from cousin Justin. And so on the day that I have to put that boss hat on, man, like those are tough days to get through, tough days to sleep through, tough days to like reconcile with. So Danielle, I'm curious. It sounds like that was a tough period of time to get through. It might not be the last time that you have to go through something like that. Were you thinking about the same tribulation?
I was. And I find that having the right people in the right seats is everything. Because if you don't have the right support team, people will leave. No matter how wonderful your service is.
Patience.
Well, I even think in any industry, right? Like if your phones aren't being answered in a way that's inviting, welcoming. I mean, if the whole, whether you're a patient, a member, a customer, if your whole experience is not just tight, then I think people will find somewhere else to go. I've had people say, "You're great, Dr. D, but I'm staying because your staff is great." And that wasn't always the case, right? It was like, "I love you, Dr. D, but I'm leaving because of your front team, your front desk team." So it's like, ooh, that's tough, right? Because you as the owner set the standard. And I think maybe I have gotten into my own like parallel universe oftentimes, and I haven't always been able to coach or teach or, impress upon my team the importance of what they're doing. But I have learned the value of huge acknowledgement to them and the value that they bring, and that we couldn't do what we do without them. And so I think the right people and consistently giving them great feedback is so important.
One of the difficulties of being business owner is there are levels to this game. If you're a business owner, solopreneur, it's really about keeping yourself motivated and like keeping your family happy and maybe kind of protecting them from your tough experiences. Like we index on the difficulty of entrepreneurship intentionally. Like this is not an easier path. It's a path for probably the most impact, but it's not the easier path. And so what I really find interesting about the equation of levels to this game is nobody taught you, and it's not in your MBA. It's likely not in your mentor's wisdom because they had a different business than you had, is leadership. And it's like, what the hell do I do in X scenario? And so that's where a lot of us take our licks. It could be with staff. It could be with the employment scenario. It could be with like taking on a new vendor, like your marketing team, or like whatever. It could be trying out a new product. It could be for you guys, it's prescribing a new drug that you just had a really good salesman on the end of, and all of a sudden it's really like a problem. Like nobody teaches you in this leadership capacity management training program doesn't really exist for entrepreneurship. It just doesn't apply one-to-one. So I'd love some wisdom. Danielle, this will be for you. I would love some wisdom. You were just talking about like the simple formula that you're using to acknowledge the talent that's on the team, to retain the talent that you have and incentivize them correctly, to keep people educated and stimulated. And like small business with like a staff of, let's say, less than 10 operates more like a family than it does actually an enterprise. And so I'd love to know more, because there's probably lots of folks out there that run small teams, me included. What's some of your leadership wisdom? You alluded to it a little bit, but like, what does it really look like to be employed by you?
I hope that my team knows that I genuinely care about them, and that can't be forced. That's something that I've learned, that you have to take care of them. We talk about taking care of patients as humans, but we really have to also acknowledge that our team, each person comes in with something, and they're not always going to have a good day, and they're going to have stuff that they're coming in the door with. And it's about loving them through that, giving them grace for those bad days. And I think what's been a challenge for me personally is I'm also not really allowed to have a bad day. If I have the worst day of my life, they can't know it. I'm learning how to do this. I am someone that wears all my emotions on my sleeve. I'm having an amazing day or I'm having an awful day. And so I would encourage people, find ways to keep it in check, because I recognize that I, as the owner, set the tone for the whole day. And if I'm coming in, everything's light, everything's easy, everything's doable, man, things are humming with the team, right? Like even if they get a complaint, even if they have a bad patient experience for whatever reason, like they just have like the resiliency to just work through it, versus if I'm coming in and I'm not saying anything, but it's all about my vibe. It's all about what I'm putting out, right? Like, and I'm just not right. They feel it.
Of course.
So, man, it starts with me. It starts with him. And that's something that only you can figure out ways, whether that's, I don't know. There's so many different ways that I think we won't go down that road, but like, you got to find your way to come in ready for anything. And I like that everything is easy, everything is light kind of mindset.
It's it's perception is reality. So even if they smell it on you, whether that was true or not, their perception is now shaping their reality of that particular day. And if it happens too many times, if it's 4 out of 7 days a week, well, you're going to start to change somebody's long-term perspective of you as well. I find that really interesting. Like being in control of ourselves is the contagious thing as leaders. And so you get a leader that's stressed, they're always pushing on a deadline, they're always over breathing down your neck about a deliverable, et cetera, et cetera. You can imagine the environment that you create. In small business, we're only as good as our front line. I'm only as good as the people that I can send to a call or execute the work or whatever. And like, as a leader, it's an important thing for us to shape our day. I can tell you, having a fully remote team, like you do not have that. You see these people in person every day. You catch a high five or a hug or like whatever your scenario is, whatever the ritual is. I have to work twice as hard. I have to like deliberately interject myself in my team's morning, or I don't even exist. It's like they're freelancers. You know, like at least there's a level of accountability with a brick and mortar that I'm going to see you every day. Like I have an opportunity to take a breath before I get out of the car, and whatever shit happened at home, I could leave it in the car, change my mentality. Like you have that opportunity, whether you have the skill to do it in practice is different. But like for me, they don't know how I'm doing. They didn't see me leave the house. I have a even bigger moment to say like, hey, I'm here. It's a great day. Let's go crush it. But I also have the opportunity to be like totally in my head, locked up in my office. Nobody has to see me. But if you do that often enough, it's like, well, who the hell am I even working for here? Like, what's the point of this job? Like, I'm not getting anything, new knowledge, new experiences, new what. So being in a remote environment, you have to be deliberate about how you represent yourself to your team, or chatter happens. You know, this dude's always checked out. He's never here. Like, who's running the show? Like, I should be getting paid more because I'm carrying more of the load. What's he doing? It's actually even in harder rhetoric. They don't really see it and physically touch it and like watch your daily effort. So I think that there's, again, layers to this leadership game. And depending on the business that you choose to create, choose your hard, choose your hard. What I find interesting about you, George, is I'm reading a book on Stoicism right now. Marcus Aurelius. Not the book by Marcus Aurelius, more of like a daily journal. I wouldn't be able to consume that whole book and get the value out of it. So it's read one page a day. Every page is a different journal. It's 365 pages. And so I'll put the book, I don't have it right here. I'll put the book in the show notes. But the reason why I bring up Stoicism is that is my impression of you. Less emotional, more collective, more collected, not emotional in your decision making, more about information gathering, which may have the opposite effect, where it might take you longer to make decisions about things. Might not be like the fast and light leader. But you two have a dynamic between each other. And as like kind of co-owners of the business, and like you're both points of escalation and et cetera, there might be a scenario of divide and conquer, but you guys have transparency between your two partnership relationship, very reminiscent of me and my partner, which is why I go here. So George, what is it like to have a business partner? Forget the fact that you're married to this one and you guys have like we're going to get there. But what is it like to have a business partner helping make decisions, helping you get punched in the face when you have a bad day? Like, what is it like to carry the burden with a counterpart?
It's awesome, I mean, and you can't really separate work and home. We wake up together, we go to work, maybe separate cars, maybe the same car. So you do life together, and I don't know the best way I could explain. I was trying to describe it to one of my buddies a couple weeks ago. Is like, those moving strips of floor at the airport that,
Yeah.
you hop on them and you walk, and you're walking fast, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. It kind of feels like that. It's like, uh, greater than the sum of your parts, while you're doing your thing and you got your tasks in front of you and they're doing their thing, they got their tasks in front of you, then you powwow and you realize how much you got done as a collective. So, um, uh, yeah, it's been great. And I think that, we do have sort of, I think you nailed it, but you got the general idea right for sure. And so I think that that's good, in terms of two different approaches. And so, you bullseyed it. I take longer to make decisions, I'm med school 35. um but I also don't get too high, too low, and so there's something to say about both aspects of it. And as long as we communicate well and figure out what's okay, you got your take, I got my take, what's the best route to go here, then you see it from multiple angles that you can't see it from otherwise. You cannot see it from otherwise, no matter how good your imagination.
In my business partner relationship, I've been friends with Mike since I'm 15 years old. My relationship with him is rooted in rock climbing and literally built on a foundation of trust. Like literally.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you don't catch me, I might die, and you have to
Yeah.
deal with my mom, right? So like it's literally rooted in trust, and it's a whole lifetime of all of this. And we have a simple code that we run this business by. It's either a hell yes or a hard no. And while that might be light and fast, I'm like you, Danielle, which is like, yo, let's just build a plane while we're flying. Like, like let's just figure it out. And he's more like you, George, which is like, show me the math. Like show me the path, show me the strategy, show me, what my worst case scenarios are. Like I need all the information before I can give you. And so the light and fast movement between us is if it's not a hell yes, it's a hard no. It could be a no for now. It could be a no, this is not my domain. I support you. There's lots of ways that no, usually no is not a no. We're not ever talking about this again. It's more like we're not both humming on that topic right now. So I ask you guys, do you have like a simple code of running this business together? And maybe it's running your private labs together too.
A great question.
Code like a hell yes or a hard no? Talking about?
That's my code. You can steal it if you want.
I like it.
I think I don't know if we have a code that we can sum up that kind of neatly, but I would say that we communicate well and we talk it out, and it's not combative, it's constructive. So I think both of us respect the other perspective enough to want to listen and not force our own opinion. And at the end of the day, we just choose a route and we try it out. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes what we thought was the hell yes turns out to be maybe we shouldn't. Vice
Yeah.
versa,
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone is making decisions unilaterally anymore, and I didn't want that. Going back to I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm never going to be the smartest person. And I want to get around people much smarter than myself that have goals and strengths that I don't have. And so I lean heavily on George for that. Okay, let's get grounded. Let's make a decision based on maybe a little more facts, not just feeling. And so I know that I am a better leader. I'm a better owner. I'm a better doctor now that I'm in partnership with George, and that's personally and professionally. I hired him without any desire to be more than just professionals. Let's just put that on the record. But I knew immediately that you say built on trust, Justin, and I think that was immediately what George exuded to me was that this is someone I can trust. This is someone that I actually want to build a practice with. It was never in my heart just to have this business that was just mine, for some of the reasons that we've already talked about.
Yeah. I was watching a couple days ago, I was watching the new hyper realistic Lion King movies that are out with my son. And the second one has a wonderful song in it, which is, I think it's Rafiki is singing it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so I often talk about that on the show. I'm always kind of referencing the Lion King. It's this point in my life right now. It's playing, it's like on repeat. And my kid likes animals and the hyper realistic version at the watering hole. You can't do better than that. Maybe Jungle Book. And so that wisdom, though, for anybody that is wondering, like, what is the value of co-founder partnership or business owner partnership or, two managers on a team or something like that, it is that simple saying. If you want to go fast, go alone. Be a solopreneur, rock your world, be the sole independent business owner, and you can make all the decisions you want. If you think you have all the wisdom and you trust your team and you're great at delegation and you're great at failing fast and like yada yada, there's a checklist to being your own independent. If that's not you and it wasn't me, go together. You'll go much further. And you'll go with less stress. You'll go with shared struggle. You'll go with on your bad day is hopefully not the shared bad day. And like, you're just going to get further with a partner. And again, that formula is not for everybody either. Some people need 6 partners on a business and like they have a different code that I just don't even know how to relate to, right? But there isn't one way, but there are these sayings that exist and wisdom that's around for a reason. And so I find that to be valuable. And I think you two go far together is really your formula. And so as we round third base, what do you think is kind of the future for the business? What's the future for your pursuit of entrepreneurship?
we want to serve as many people as we can while maintaining the magic of the practice. And so we have greater capacity now that we have more providers, and we're never going to try to be the big conglomerate, right? But I think that the goal is just to serve more people, to have more reach in the community, and whether that looks like more physicians remains to be seen. But I think I think we're all committed to providing a level of care that is different and sought after and really a value add to patients where they really are known, they're loved, they're cared for in a genuine way. And I think if we can maintain that, then it will it will work out, you know? And what do you want to add to that?
I mean, no, nothing. I think you hit it. I mean, the the the, the crux of it is that the business is caring for people, and so you can't really extrapolate them from each other. So it's a matter of always learning, becoming the best physicians we can be, and having something that we believe in, and having it grow to as many people as we can, as many people as want it, within reason. Once if we overextend ourselves and we can't provide the same level of care as we talked about before, it's kind of a sort of a niche model. But yeah, I mean, we believe that we can help. We know we can help. We see it with our patients. And so we want to, bring on more people.
So let me double down on the question. It's just something to think about. Maybe you don't have an answer for it, but your business is relatively ripe for multiple locations. It's ripe for things like franchising. It's ripe for things that allow for larger expansion, more territory. I mean, George, you're the one that set them over a bridge and through the woods over here. Like you might not even find the practice. You could drive past it for 10 years. To your goal is to help as many people as possible. Is it business expansion, like truly new location business expansion on the radar, or it's we want to grow this practice, maybe move it to a new location that provides a bigger office. I only want one. Like, there's two paths in life. I've had lots of franchise owners here. I've had lots of guys that have moved from a 500 square foot warehouse to a 50,000 square foot warehouse, one location. They just want to grow, grow, grow. So what does your goal look like?
We have talked about this many times, starting with the end in mind, right? And I think we're still hashing that out because the fear that I have, or the question in my mind is, if we get too big, what does it then become? And do we lose a little bit of the magic of really taking really good care of people? I don't think it's impossible. I think it's challenging. I mean, not to throw out, but there are larger concierge practices that I don't know if they've been able to keep the beauty of what it started with. And not to say that it can't become something that I haven't imagined or we haven't imagined yet, right? That still doesn't create a lot of value for patients. But I think it's really going to be about getting what I feel like we have right now that's so special is that we have three providers that are all on the same page about high quality care, intentional care for our patients. It would be on the level of can we find other provider? I think there's a need for it. It's can we find other physicians that want to double down on this, that want to offer a care that requires more than just checking in, checking out. It's really more. Practicing functional medicine takes intentionality. It takes more emotional depth. It takes more emotional breadth. It just takes more than just saying, oh, you've got diabetes, here's 3 drugs that I can give you, right? And so it takes up on the provider side to dig, to stay curious, to care enough to go the extra mile. So I think if we could find those providers, yeah, sky's the limit.
So shout out to a previous guest of Strictly from Nowhere, Sam Tooley. Sam is the founder of Alpha Fit Club. Para healthcare related industry to you guys, separate, but just think about the business structure. Sam owns a program where in order to own a location, you had to get trained by Sam. right? So in order to qualify to purchase a location in the next township over, a fitness facility is very similar to you guys. You have a radius that you can pull from. It's only so far that people are willing to travel, or they're just going to go to another option. Same thing for the fitness industry. But the way that he controlled quality assurance is his management training protocol. It's the only way that he could certify that the folks that are going to open these businesses are alpha fit. And so it's something to think about. It's your game. It's your game, and it's everybody that's listening to this. It's your game to think about what your business looks like to expand. I mean, God be willing, it's too big. You know, like God be willing, you get to a goal where you've helped so many people to where you have to dial it back before you lose a bit of your essence. That's like wonderful to have achieved that. But how do you lay that foundation of expansion? That's up to you. And so you could do it the way that Sam Tooley did it, which is like, this is a leadership training program, management training program, however you want to look at it. Everybody started as staff. Everybody started scrubbing the floors. Everybody started programming. Everybody started with one-on-one nutrition classes, breakout group class, boom, boom, boom. You had to hit every layer of this business to qualify to open up a new location. I think he's up to like 9 locations now in New Jersey. So the formula certainly is available and certainly works and might be a little bit relevant to you guys. Okay, we're getting close to the end. Before we wrap this up, these conversations often drum up something. And what I don't want is for you guys to hang up from this and say, man, I wish we would have covered that topic. So anything come to mind?
Feel pretty good. How you feel, babe?
I love how much I've learned from you, Justin.
Yeah, it's
Like
true.
well,
Should be
yeah,
interviewing you.
yeah, we really should. And so I would love to hear from as a patient who has sought out the integrative concierge experience. Like, what do you find is most valuable between you and your provider?
For the first time in our lives, I have direct access to my provider. I don't have a guard dog. I don't have like some crazy appointment scenario I have to go through. If I have a problem on a Saturday, I have access to my doctor on a Saturday. That to me, like literally text message basis. They're using a relay. It's not his real phone number. You'd be silly to do that with 500 patients. Like you'd be bombarded. But it's through a relay. And but that experience to me, is a far departure from what is normal. Normal, it's like you get a test result, here's a patient portal, you can comment in the patient portal and I'll get back to you within 48 hours. Like that's great. Like that model exists, technology helps with that. There really is nothing better than like having your primary care physician a text message away. So I love that. What I also love is it seems like the guy drags his feet every time we need to make a prescription or get some imaging or offer a new modality, in the sense that he wants you to fix the system, change your sleep, change your fitness, change your nutrition. Like, let's work on the things that if you don't have those right, typically lead to chronic disease. And he's very, very cautious about prescription medication. I also like that he's playing around in other treatment protocols. I'm a big believer in PRP. We've talked about that. You know, I'm a big believer in kind of like a homeopathic remediation. I'm a big believer in physical therapy and like acute training. And there's just other ways. There's other ways for people to pursue a healthy life. Now, if you do have chronic disease or some type of prolonged illness, or you're dealing with the death and dying, like there's other big scenarios in this that we don't have to deal with right now, that I may have to change who my provider is. But for right now, this is really about like, I need somebody who can digest all my bullshit that I go through on ChatGPT, who can like field me as like somebody who has like a bit of an ego in the conversation, and like I read an article and like I've done my research, and like I need to be able to box with you or I'm just not going to believe you. And so this like formula for me of finding like the quarterback of our health experience, and my wife and I use the same individual, so he's really the quarterback of our ecosystem. That to me was a far departure from large system primary care or general practice family internist. That also was just like churn and burn, a thousand charts a day, and like a burnt out stuffy staff. And like there was just, I needed a departure and something fresh. And so for me, that was definitely very enticing. But I only found that because our backs were against the wall. Like something was going on with my wife and some nerve or something that was in her neck or her shoulder, or like something was going on. Medicine wasn't working, topicals weren't working, like the things were just not working. And we said, I need a quarterback. I need somebody who is going to think abstractly, not just like take this pill, do this treatment, go for this image, yada yada, and like still not have any conclusions. And somebody that was more interested in the story arc. And so that was really important for us. And we maintain, and like I don't have my annual checkup. I like go in all the time, like just to catch him up or like whatever. And so that comprehensive holistic approach to our well-being, that was something that you can't even put a price tag on. And there's lots of points where he just doesn't take insurance, and like insurance doesn't really recognize this. It's like it's almost like in the elective category, and like I can't put a price tag on that stuff. And I'm by no means well off. You know, it's just like you do the math equation. Like, what does it cost to remain healthy versus be unwell and obtain treatment? What is the cost? So for me to remain in business daily, to remain healthy with my children, to you know, all of that. You can't put a price tag on most of that stuff.
Justin, it sounds like you're in great hands. I'm really happy that you have
We have a
some.
dope one. He's like really cool.
Oh, that's
He's
awesome.
real badass. But
Yeah.
if I was in your local area, you already know. You already know. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. It's been a heck of a journey. You know, not only is it a pleasure to have you on the show, but it's also a pleasure to just be on this ride of entrepreneurship with you and be your friends. And this has just been a wonderful experience. I can't thank you both enough for your transparency, your wisdom, and for your zero to market story. And I wish you both forward to extraordinary.
Thanks, Justin. Pleasure, man.
Thank you both.
Thank you so
well, okay, take care of each other.
Yeah.
Cool.